I forget about that annoying Zoom new feature they have. But anyway, hello everyone. It's Jason Fierno here representing the Mining Mavericks. The Mining Mavericks are a curated group of industry leaders who are passionate about making the industry better and more sustainable for everyone. Today, I'm really excited and fortunate enough to be joined by Carly Leonida of The Intelligent Miner. She's a freelance writer and owner-author of The Intelligent Miner. Welcome, Carly. Excited to have you here.
Thanks, Jason. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, really looking forward to chatting with you. So, first thing I want to say is I'm a fan of your writing. I think it's really impressive. You know, some of the stuff that you've done at Mining Magazine, geo drilling, mining, and then being with Mining Magazine for 7 years. Now, obviously the owner and author of The Intelligent Miner. Where does this passion come from?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you. I'm amazed that you've actually read back that far and you know about geodrilling. But yeah, it's so I mean, I'm going back, I guess, to the beginning. As a kid, I was always really interested in like rocks and minerals and
Hmm.
fossils, stuff like that. That was a real passion of mine. And so when I went to university, I chose to study geography and geology, majoring in geology, and had a great time. That was a fantastic 3 years in Brighton. But when I graduated, it was pretty much just as the global financial crisis hit and nobody was hiring geologists. It was not a great time.
Sure.
So I had to think about how I could use some of these skills. I really loved writing, I loved travel. And I think I saw a job opening on a website actually at the time for an assistant editor on Mining Magazine. Did an interview for it, and Paul Moore, who was the editor at the time, offered me the job, which was, fantastic. I thought I'll give this a go. I'll probably stay for a couple of years. Um, it didn't quite work out that way. I was there in the end for the best part of a decade, probably in the Aspermont stable of magazines. So I started out on Mining Magazine. I did some work on World Tunneling and Trenchless World, which is every bit as niche as it sounds.
You said it, not me.
Yeah. And then I was the editor on Geodrilling International for a little while. Came back to Mining Magazine there as the editor. And I stayed there for 8 years in the end and worked around. I sort of contributed to some other publications as well, Mining Journal, Australia's Mining Monthly. And I went freelance in 2019 because I could see that there was a niche in the market for someone who could write across the breadth of subjects that we've got in mining. I mean, speaking from experience as an editor, it's really hard to find freelancers who can, write about projects one day and the mineral processing the next. It's very difficult. So I could just see that there was an opening for somebody who could do that and who could support companies in the mining space to brand them, not brand themselves, but market themselves and put themselves out there through content. And I could also see that there was an opening for a new publication, one that could sort of explain the industry and its role in society to a slightly wider audience. There are loads of really great titles in the mining space, but they're written for the industry, by the industry. And they're not necessarily something that people outside of the industry would pick up and read.
Sure.
So I think making mining sustainable, a really key part of that is making it accessible and relatable to other people, not just in other industries, but to the general public too. So I started The Intelligent Miner. I sort of had this hunch that other people might like to read that kind of thing too. And I started a blog to test the water. And yeah, it's just grown from there. I think my intuition was right. The mining industry and mining processes are really interesting, and other people do want to learn more. It's just a case of presenting these subjects in the right way. And you and I have had this conversation before. Often people say, oh, we need to make the mining industry sexy. But actually, there's plenty of like cool technologies and initiatives being developed and deployed. We just need to show them to people. So I think, yeah, in short, I came to the mining industry for the rocks and the travel. And in the end, I stayed because I liked the people and because I could see that there was a way through my writing, to influence the industry and help shape its future to be a bit more responsible and sustainable.
Sure. No, I think that's great. I can imagine you as a little girl playing with rocks, and it puts a smile on my face. I think I was playing with rocks when I was young too. Certainly building stuff anyway. But so you've been voted the most influential woman in mining. how do you think that has impacted the Intelligent Miner, your career, your influence?
Well, first of all, I should say one of the most influential
Okay,
women, not the most. I think there are plenty of women more influential than me.
that's my fault.
That's okay. But I think from a personal perspective, I mean, more than anything, it gave me validation. Imposter syndrome is real.
Totally.
And to make a jump from being a junior editor on a title and, speaking to other people, putting their thoughts and opinions and their work on paper, to then jump to the editor's position where you're expected to put your own thoughts and opinions forward to the world every month, that takes guts. And I mean, I was only 24 when I started,
Wow.
when I took on the editor's position at Mining Magazine. I think I was like the youngest editor in over 100 years. So that was, it felt like a huge weight of responsibility. It was quite a big pair of shoes to step into. And I reckon it took me at least 6 or 7 years of sort of reading and writing about the mining industry every day and speaking to different experts on different subjects to feel that my own opinions were well formed enough to present them to people and, to weigh in on debates and conversations. And I'm sure a lot of other editors who've come up through the ranks would tell you that too. I mean, I still doubt myself now on some things, even after 15 years. So it's one of those things. People very rarely will write into magazines to tell you that you're doing a good job, but they'll sure as hell be there if they think you're not doing a good job.
Yeah, no question.
You don't hear from readers very often. So to receive that accolade and to, get that nod it was a validation. It was a big nod for me to continue doing what I was doing.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you on that. I think that's impressive. What I'm curious about, having spoken with you a couple of times and clearly having read your materials, thinking about being 24 and having that position, where do you think, I mean, that's a leap of faith, that's courage, and I'm sure it was scary. So but I also see that there's a passion in you, and you really your passion comes through your writing, but it also comes through the choices that you've made from a career standpoint. Where do you think that comes from?
I am a great believer in, if you're scared of something, just do it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? You fail and you try something else. I'm terrified of flying, but that doesn't stop me from flying around the world, visiting mines, going to different events and stuff. I'm a great believer in sort of facing your fears and getting on with it. I'm a really ambitious person, so.
No, you are. I love that. I mean, I think that's something that is clearly within you, and something that I really admire and appreciate. So I'm just trying to get a sense of where that burning ambition comes from. Is it
It's a family thing. I
okay?
definitely come from a long line of matriarchs. My mum and my grandma were all really ambitious people. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I get that from them.
I love hearing about that. That's really cool. So you just have emulated that or seen them and when you were growing up and stuff like that, really being courageous and willing to do things even though they were uncomfortable. I love it.
I was always taught that, being female is not something that should hold you back. You should put yourself out there and try. What's the worst that can happen?
That's totally true.
Someone
totally,
tells you no,
true.
well, you fail, and that's fine. You try something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wearing a shirt yesterday, fail forward every day. And somebody asked me what fail forward meant, and had a bit of a chat that, the way to grow, the way to get better is by making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. So I think you and I employ the same philosophy that you do have to be willing to put yourself out there to try, but then to learn from your mistakes as well. So I really appreciate that about you, Carly. It's really impressive.
Thank you. Well, I think, to be honest, we need more of that in the mining industry. There is a great fear of, and it's probably, harks back to the way mining companies are set up to profit with their investors. People expect certain returns, but I think that perhaps investors and stakeholders need to be a bit more supportive of mining companies trying new things and not necessarily always succeeding first time, but learning from that and moving forwards.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's a lot of pressure, as I'm sure you would agree, for mining companies, particularly, from shareholders, that what I believe causes some, at times, I don't want to say irrational, but maybe erratic decision making or behavior, if nothing else. But I'm not in that position either, so I can't talk big like it's no big deal. But I do like the idea of trying and putting yourself out there, and what's the worst that could happen, for sure.
Mm.
How would you apply that mentality to work? I mean, clearly starting your own company and being an editor and author, but what else would you say fits into that space within your work life?
Oh, within my work life. See, I apply that in every area of my life. I'm, the sort of person who decided one day I was just going to train to run a marathon. And so I did it, and, walked on hot coals once just because I fancied trying it. And I'm just that sort of person.
Okay, now we're getting to some good stuff. Walking on coals, I love it.
Yeah.
What tell me about that. What was the circumstance associated with that?
So it was with my cousin. She was working for a charity at the time, and they were holding an event. And she sort of said, "Well, I can't ask people to gain sponsorship and to come and do this if I'm not willing to do it myself." She said, "Do you want to come and do it with me? I know that you probably would." I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I probably should have done a bit more preparation for that, but I just rocked up and rolled up my trouser legs and went for it.
That's awesome. Good for you. I'm impressed. I'm not so
Yeah, I
sure I
mean,
have the courage to do that.
at the end of the day, you only live once, right?
I've been saying that as long as I can remember. It's gotten me into trouble at times, but more often
Mm-hmm.
than not, it's been positive. So, but you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. So one of the things that I think about when having a conversation with you, and something that you and I have jawed on a little bit before, is the importance of psychology within the
Mm.
industry. And my perception, my vantage point is that there's really not a lot of time, effort, and energy put into how we think, and what we think, and how we make decisions. What's your take on that whole space?
I totally agree. I think one of the biggest things that we could do to optimize operations and mining companies in general going forward is to put more emphasis on the human aspect. We've done loads of work over the past 10, 20 years on, implementing the best machinery, the latest technology, the latest software, but we've really overlooked the human element. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, at the end of the day, that's the most powerful tool that any company has on a mine site, is the human brain. People are going to be required at mining operations for quite some time, for the foreseeable future at least. And even when we have these sort of fully autonomous mines of the future, we're still, somebody's going to need to come in and fix the trucks when they break, or supervise them when they're running around site. So I think, yeah, one way that we could optimize teams and perform better is to really understand the neuroscience and the psychology behind how people interact and how they make decisions in specific roles. And I was thinking about this. I mean, at the moment, we build teams in the same way that we build mines. It's as though every person were neurologically the same, or every ore body is the same. But the fact of the matter is that we're not. Everyone's different. And some people are better at, mathematics, some people are better at communicating, some people are problem solving, and everybody does that in different ways. So by building teams and roles around individuals, and by embracing neurodiversity, I think we could really boost productivity, but also recruitment and retention, which is a huge problem at the moment. And I think we can manage teams in the same way as well. Rosters can be designed to maximize productivity. So like, some people like to get up and go to work early in the mornings.
Mm.
And some people are real night owls. They like to start the day late and carry on late. And that's just how they would naturally maximize their productivity. I mean, that's just one example, but I think that rather than fighting these tendencies, if we can work with them, we're going to get so much more out of people, and we're going to reduce absenteeism. And I mean that, that extends to even things like people letting them take naps, building those naps in when they're tired, making sure that people warm up and stretch before they go underground and do really hard physical work. Now we've got all these amazing wearable technologies that can provide biometrics, and we can even predict how people's bodies are going to react in certain situations. we need to be using them more widely. I mean, they should be mandatory anyway, just as a safety thing on site, but we can use those to create better workplaces and better teams too. That makes complete sense to me.
I agree with you with every fiber of my body. There's no question about it. I know my team and I are busy working on solutions to that issue. How do you build out a better team? And I think psychology is a huge part of it, conation as well. But then you brought up the physical side of it, which I think is interesting and something that we hadn't really contemplated, at least in this current solution. So I'd be interested to maybe to chat a bit more about that with you. The first thing I think about is, and I know you're British, and I know you're in England, and I know you don't watch football or soccer, but I do as an American, and I love it. But what I see in the English Premier League anyway is all of the players now have, you know, sensors, heart rate monitors, and various different gadgets attached to them, and I can only imagine what benefit that brings to the club. But maybe a bit more from your perspective, what you've seen that that you think could be a game changer, or something that's cool anyway.
So have you heard of a company called Canaria Technologies?
I think
Australia based.
I'm not sure, so I don't want to lie.
Yeah,
I think I might have,
okay.
but I don't want to come off like I know everything. So let's say no.
Okay, well, so they've developed a really cool predictive biometric system that harnesses technology that was developed for, I think they developed it for NASA originally, for for astronauts to monitor their vital signs and to predict how they were going to react, so that people can intervene where necessary, and make sure that those people are kept in the best of health all the time. And they've got this really cool device that I think it's called the Canaria V, which is their latest generation device. It's like an earpiece that clips on, and it measures all kinds of things, like oxygen in the blood. Look it up. There's the most fantastic array of things they can do with this, and they're starting to roll it out to mines in Australia.
Okay.
And I mean, the implications that could have if something like that were made mandatory, even if you could link that to insurance, to lower premiums and things like that, is absolutely phenomenal. And I mean, things like that, technologies like that aren't that crazy expensive anymore. At the end of the day, you can't put a price on people's lives. If these technologies are available and accessible and have been proven, mining companies should be using them.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a delay here, Carly. Sorry. Can you? Yes, I agree. And can you see me, hear me okay?
I can. Can you see me?
I can. Yeah, just getting a bit of a delay. So we'll get that cleaned up. But I think when it comes to safety, I think with any company that I've worked with, I think people have said, look, if it comes to helping somebody get home to their family or get home to their dog or whatever, but stay safe, let's just open up the gates of information flow and share that. So I think that there's a ton of opportunity there. I'll check them out, and we'll link that up in the show notes as well, so people that are interested can take a look. So appreciate that. That's cool.
No worries.
So that makes me think of what you said a few minutes ago, which is that if you say you're going to do it, you do it, such as running a marathon. So I assume you did it, but what was the compelling thought?
Mm-hmm.
What was the compelling thought that got you to make that proclamation? Like, why? why put yourself through that?
Why not? Just to see if I could do it. It's just something I'd always wanted to do since I was a little kid. I just thought maybe one day, am I waiting? I don't have any. It was at the time it was about 10 years ago, if I'm quite honest. I was a lot younger. I didn't, so I had plenty of time. Yeah, I just decided that I was gonna commit to it, and once I'd committed to it, and yeah, I think I aimed to run it in 4.5 hours, and I did 4 hours 32. So that was good enough for me.
That's good. That's congratulations on that. I had it running a half a marathon on my bucket list, and I did that, and that's far enough. So I am impressed with your
Mm.
resilience and ability to do that. Were you running at the time? Were you an avid runner?
Yeah, I
Okay.
must admit, I did a half marathon form. I think, if I'm honest, my knees are absolutely shot now. I can't really run anymore, but I'm into swimming now, open water swimming. I've taken up since lockdown.
Oh, really?
There wasn't many exercise last year, but there are some really beautiful like lakes and rivers around where I live. So yeah, why not? Got my wetsuit out and got in.
You have to show me a picture of that. I want to see you swimming in a brown river covered with, in your swimsuit or in your wetsuit and everything. I'm sure one
With my
exists.
swimming cap.
Yeah, right.
There are plenty. I'm not sure anybody actually needs to see it.
Maybe just a picture of the water. You can
You know
send
what?
whatever you want, but it
You say that
sounds.
though, but there are some like really beautiful clear lakes around here. You can see right to the bottom, even though it's like 5 or 6 meters deep. It's amazing. You can see all the fish. It's cool.
I'm jealous. Here in Colorado, we're a bit landlocked, so we don't have a lot of those types of opportunities, I guess. I'm sure you can find them, but I just don't know anything about them. If you want to swim
Mm.
outdoors here, it's at the pool at the gym.
Oh, well, ideally, I'd like to go to the beach and swim in the sea, but I live 4 hours from the sea, so.
You and I both, and I live a lot farther than 4 hours. But yeah, okay. Well, we share that in common too. I love the beach. Love the beach. Which I guess kind of leads me to a question that we had that we were interested to find out, which is you're also, not only do you care about the human element and the human aspect and bringing that to bear within mining, but you're also passionate about the environment
Mm.
and making sure we're doing things right there. So what would you see are some of the trends in that space, or some of the things that you would like to see as trends?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, I should say that there are companies and organizations in the mining space who are doing a really good job on the ESG front. Companies that have had climate change mitigation plans in place, water and energy reduction strategies, things like that for more than 10 or 15 years. Some of them are making really great strides in this area, but I think there are quite a lot more for whom the ESG movement over the last couple of years has come a bit of a slap in the face. And I'm sure there are lots of companies who are either burying their heads in the sand or are just doing the minimum to scrape by on that front. So I think it's great that most big mining companies now publish sustainability reports, carbon emission reports, things like that as standard. And I know that lots of them got plans in place to cut emissions by X amount by 2030 or be carbon neutral for 2050. But I think the industry as a whole really needs to pick up its pace on these efforts. I mean, there was a report published a few weeks ago by, I think it was Weir Group,
Okay.
that found that the hard rock mining industry globally accounts for 1% of electricity consumption. And I know that the Coalition for Eco-Efficient Comminution, they put out some information a while back saying that the mining industry as a whole, that's metal and non-metal mining, accounts for like 3% of global electrical energy usage, which is huge. I know that mining isn't the biggest consumer of energy or the biggest producer of emissions. I think agriculture or cement is probably bigger than that, but we still have a responsibility to improve that. And I mean, even a reduction in resource consumption on a small scale would make a huge difference on a global scale. So yeah, I think there's a lot, we need to break down some of these goals into bite-sized projects. We need to set really realistic timeframes around them. We need to implement digital technologies that are going to enable us to quickly and accurately report on our efforts. And I think that we need proper large-scale change management around this. We need those visionary leaders who are willing to lead change from the top. They can manage stakeholder expectations, who can collaborate at every single level, between departments, between companies, with peers and competitors, with other industries. I think this particular challenge is too big for any one company to solve alone. And, you know, we need to band together. We need peer-to-peer support programs. We need focus groups. We need mentoring for leaders to help them get better at that. At the end of the day, nobody wants to destroy the environment. I think we're all at the stage where we realize just how critical and how fragile the state of the planet is. But we look around us and start helping others to build more sustainable plans for the future, and start with small improvements, because at the end of the day, those are going to incentivize the big changes. Then we as an industry are not going to get to where we want to be in 10, 20, 30 years time.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about that too. So, Carly, I apologize. I'm getting a bit of a delay here, so if I'm late to the party, I apologize. What's that?
No worries, that's okay.
Okay, yeah, it's just a bit of a lag in and out. But who do you see? I like your idea that you can start small and grow from there. You know, and you get a small success with a smaller group, and you can build on that. Are there any models in the industry like that you're seeing that work, or that you like, or that you want to give a shout out to, or what are your thoughts there?
It probably goes completely against that, but I really like what the guys at Inspire Resources are doing, because they are not just making change on a small scale, they're almost completely turning the mining process on its head, or the mining, the business of being a mining company on its head, and just reimagining that from the start. That's a really brave move, and I think there's not enough companies that are willing to do that. I know that's a lot harder to do when you're sitting at a big multinational company, but if you can test it out on a small scale, slightly smaller scale, prove it with some smaller clients, I think that's a fantastic thing that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, Andy is the one that introduced me to you, so I thank him for that, Mr. Andy Reynolds of Inspire Resources, and then Ken Murray as well is definitely a very influential personality within our industry. So shout out to both of them. I would also say that you're right. I think within a big mining company, it's challenging to pull off what Andy and Ken and co are doing at Inspire Resources. But I also think there's opportunity for innovation within bigger companies. If we could get Andy and the Inspire Resources model into a bigger company that has the overhead to try something different, I think there could really be opportunity there. What do you think about that?
Totally. And that's where it comes down to having these really visionary, progressive leaders, people who are willing to take a chance and, just see what could the future look like? How different could it be?
Yeah, that's I really enjoy chatting with Andy too. He thinks different than most people. He comes at it from a different angle, and I always learn something. So I really enjoy that. So yeah, great shout out. Great.
Different is good. I like different.
Yeah, and you hit on a word that I use a lot, which is progressive. I think we do need to be progressive, and I think there are progressive leaders out there. I also think there's an opportunity to amplify their voice, which the Mavericks hope to do here, but obviously you've been doing for a much longer period of time and doing a great job. So thank you for being a progressive leader.
Oh, thank you. I don't often think of myself in that sense, but that's nice to hear.
You should. I think based on the scope of your articles and your research, I mean, it's very broad. So you've got a lot of you've got a breadth of knowledge in that brain of yours, and some ambition, clearly, by running that marathon and other things as well. So I think that's really great. One of the reasons why we wanted to feature you here today, Carly.
Thank you. I mean, a lot of the stuff I write about on The Intelligent Miner is stuff that I wanted to read and couldn't find elsewhere in the industry at the time. And it's like an educational journey for me too. I'm going to these people and asking about what I want to know, and sort of piecing together my knowledge from there. So
absolutely,
it's very much yeah, I'm taking people on an educational journey with me.
And you're smiling while doing it, so that's good.
Oh, I'm having a ball.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So you brought it up earlier, and I wanted to circle back to it, but the hashtag mining is sexy. I used that the other day in LinkedIn after we exchanged some thoughts, and then you called me out and you're like, Jason, I think there actually are some things that are going on in the industry that are sexy. So thanks for keeping me honest. The other piece to that, though, that I want to chat about is how do you see, or what do you think about the next generation of leaders? It's a topic that's definitely top of mind for me, and I know top of mind for a lot of Mavericks listeners and readers. So what are your thoughts around that?
I think there are loads of really great people already within the industry who think differently and who have big ideas about what the mining industry could look like. And I think first and foremost, we really need to support and nurture and grow those people to be the leaders of tomorrow, because there are plenty of them out there, but a lot of them are still in sort of middle management or junior roles. So I think it's really important that we don't overlook that. But of course, there are going to be people from outside the industry as well. So the mining industry as a whole needs to start getting its message out there. We need to show people all of the good things that we're doing, because right now they only see the bad stuff, and that really pains me. We need to present ourselves to the public as progressive and vital and make ourselves more relatable. At the end of the day, Generation Z, they think and operate fundamentally differently, I think, to generations before them. And those kids, and I mean, they are kids at the moment, but very
Sure.
soon they're going to be holding some pretty big purse strings. And they care about the planet, they care about resource usage and protecting the environment and biodiversity. And we need to figure out how to speak to that and show them that there are so many opportunities in this industry to change the planet for the better. And I keep harking back to what Mark Cutifani said in his CIM presentation a few weeks ago, because
Sure.
it was everything for me. That mining and the products of mining underpin pretty much, I think he said 45%, but that's nearly half of the global economy.
Right.
So no one has a bigger chance to make change happen than we do. And we need to show these people that there are just so many critical and varied and rewarding roles that mining can offer them. You can have a really rich career path in this industry. And we need to make our workplaces, whether it's a mine or an office, more inviting and flexible. We need to show them our community spirit, because really it's people that make the mining industry great. We need to welcome them with open arms, I think.
I absolutely agree with you. I really, really do. I would extend that to say we need to invite them into our weird little world as well.
Totally. We need to break down these walls that we've kind of built up around ourselves for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah. Who cares why? It doesn't matter why. It's what are we going to do going forward? And I think that extending the invitation, this is my experience, that when extending an invitation to a young person, junior person, or somebody at college coming in through an internship or something like that, it's amazing to me how little, what I would say, is common knowledge around mining. I mean, there's very little common knowledge around mining, other than it's often just as big, scary, kind of gross, dirty, whatever, call it whatever you want, industry. But then you come inside and you're like, wait a minute, that's not the case at all. There's some dirty stuff and things that have happened that are terrible, but that doesn't paint the picture of the whole industry. Where I'm going is that when I've invited individuals in and said, come take a look at us, see what we're doing globally as an industry, and talking about projects and mining, they're fascinated. They're absolutely fascinated, because I think there are a ton of fascinating things happening within our industry. So I would just extend it to say, let's make the invitation to connect, and then go from there. Because I think it really, I've been impressed with how excited young people can get, and it gives me a bit more hope, or a little bit more promise. So I really enjoy that.
Absolutely. I mean, I gave a talk, it was a couple of years ago now, but to some kids in a school. And the woman who was organizing these sort of lunchtime talks, at the time, it was only like an hour's talk. But she said, can you just come in and tell them a bit about your industry and your career path and what you've been doing? She said, and you know, it's these kids' lunch break, so there might only be 5 of them there, but that's okay because they'll still be really interested. And I went in expecting there to just be 4 or 5 kids.
Sure.
And there wasn't. The room was absolutely full, and there were some of the sort of lecturers and teachers there as well. And we ran well over the hour mark. You know, they wanted to know about space mining. They wanted to know about autonomous trucks and robots. These kids genuinely were interested. And, you know, I was telling them about some of the opportunities that are available in terms of travel. It was, you know, it was an inner city school. Some of these kids wouldn't have the opportunity to travel or the money to do that necessarily, but they could see a way through this career path in this industry to make their dreams happen. And I walked away from that feeling so good. I was like, yes. These kids, you know, it's something even as simple as an hour's lunchtime talk. These kids are going to go away thinking about mining in a completely different light. And, you know, if we could build that into school curriculum somehow, if we could have field trips to mines, that's not necessarily accessible in the UK, but perhaps in the US, you know, that might be something we could do. There are so many opportunities to get people involved that are just overlooked at the moment.
Really, really is. Well, I know that you're part of the movement to get the word out there. We're certainly trying as well. So I think, you know, good on us, I guess, for banding together and trying to get a positive message out there. We can pat ourselves on the back a little bit, but no, I think we're both passionate about that, and we both feel very strongly about that. But I think for good reason as well. I think for good reason. So one of the things that maybe one of the final 2 questions that I'll ask you, I think you got a head start on because we talked about this already, and then you took it to the next level. So I want to talk to you about 2 things. One, where do you think the industry is going to be in 10 years? That's part A. And then part B, where do you want it to be?
Okay. So I think it's interesting, by the way, that we've interviewed each other on this subject. Now we're going to go deeper on it. So what I think and what I want, I think, are 2 very different things. So I think in 10 years, I mean, it's reasonable to expect that we're going to see some of these new, younger leaders coming to the fore, some from other industries as well, possibly. And I hope that they're going to start embracing change and start redefining what it means to be a mining company and how we mine as well. I think the mining process itself will probably going to go one of 2 ways. We'll either see more massive high tonnage operations, particularly in like bulk commodities like copper, primarily because grades are falling. But then I think we'll see more selective precision mining as well for, you know, gold, copper, platinum, silver. I think we'll see more digitalization and integration all the way from the mine face to the boardroom and then onwards to markets and even end products. And even more of an emphasis on ESG than we already see today. But I've taken this one step further. And so by 2050, which is, you know, it's 30 years down the line, it's a little bit further, there's more room for change to happen. I would like to see carbon neutral mines and mining operations. I'd like to see waterless mining operations. I'd like to see mining companies that are moving away from these economies of scale, from these massive operations, and are creating portfolios of small, agile assets with mobile plants that, you know, leave no trace on the landscape once they're gone. I'd like to see community owned and operated mines. And where that's not possible, I'd like to see companies that work alongside communities to create shared value. I'd like to see, this is a very big wish list, by the way.
Your Christmas wish list can be as big as it wants, and Santa will bring you whatever he thinks is appropriate.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see innovation really baked into the DNA of mining companies. I don't think we do that particularly well at the moment, even though we sometimes have the best of intentions. And I'd like to see those innovation programs properly funded. I think that's the only way we're going to be ready for whatever the future holds, basically. I'd like to see, and I think this is most important, I would really like to see people talking and thinking about the mining industry as part of their daily lives. I want them to take a genuine interest in where their metals come from in their phones, where the materials in their houses come from, and to think of themselves as key stakeholders in the value chain, because everyone is. They just don't realize it yet. that is going to be such an important part of the mining industry's future. And I really hope that 30 years is enough time for that to happen.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's powerful to think about how people fit individually into the value chain. I think that I think as humans we're all connected in some way, shape, or form, whether it's 6 degrees of separation or just being in the same place at the same time with somebody and experiencing similar circumstances. I further believe that together we are more powerful. So you and I can do more together than either one of us could do alone. And therefore I think banding together and trying to impact change, trying to bring betterment to the industry, is really the way to go. So how we do that, of course, is a challenge, but I think there's a subculture of individuals within the industry that feel the same way and are willing to do something about it. So I think that's really significant. One of the things that I think of when we talk about this is we had a conversation on the Mavericks a while back, a roundtable on the new generation of leaders. And it was almost like, I don't know what else to say, an aha moment, but I don't like saying aha moment because it sounds silly, but I used it anyway, so screw it. But what one of the panelists said is, we keep talking about the industry, like the industry does this, the industry does that, these are the things that the industry needs to change. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we need to do it. If not us, then who? And if not now, then when? It's incumbent on us. And I think that to me was really powerful. So I think talking to you here today, I 100% look at you as a future leader, a progressive future leader within the industry. So I think it's incumbent on us to drive that change. And I certainly feel that you're doing that already. So I think the industry should be thankful for that, but I know I certainly appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. And actually, you used a soccer analogy earlier, but I'm going to use a football analogy.
All right.
I think, well, the only way that we're going to reach these goals that we've set for ourselves as an industry, us, we need the team, we need the dream team who are, properly fed, watered, who we've got the managers and the coaches, those are our progressive leaders who are going to look after them, make sure we've got the strategies and the processes in place to win. You need the cheerleaders on the sideline, people like me, the media, saying to them, yes, you can do this. I'm showing what you can do to the world. We need the crowd. You need the crowd. And, at the end of the day, that's your general public, that's your end users, that's the people who are buying the products, to G them up, to say, come on, we can do this, we want this. And at the end of the day, given the challenges we've got ahead of us, this isn't just a football game, this is the fucking Super Bowl. We've got to get this right. And if we don't have those things, it's not going to work. That's why all these elements are so important.
You just blew my mind. I love that. I love that. I'm going to steal that and use that with so much pride. It's not even funny, Carly.
Please do. I'm giving it to you.
Well, the reason I'm smiling and one of the reasons that I love it is that I often talk to clients and people within the industry about a soccer analogy. So you're saying football, I could apply this to soccer, and I say the center forward and the goalie have very different responsibilities, but neither one of them is any more important than the other. And as a result, it's how do you come together as a team and work together so that the goalie is supporting the center forward and therefore winning. But my analogy stays there. It doesn't go broader to the coaches, to the fitness trainers, to the management, to the crowd. And I think that your analogy is a lot better and more impactful. So thank you for that.
That was okay. Well, I wasn't going to use soccer because we don't have cheerleaders at soccer games, and I'm not going to write myself out of it. So
yeah, no, fair enough. You did call yourself a cheerleader, though. If we need to back up, and I mean,
that wasn't the best choice of analogy.
Well, look, I've got a cheerleader at my house, so we'll bring her out and she can do her cheerleading things.
We should
So,
form a team.
but I think with that, to take a holistic approach, is that it's all important. It's all necessary. You can't
Mhm.
have, as you said, the fucking Super Bowl without the crowds, without the $1 million, TV advertisements and stuff like that. So I really, that resonates with me. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that.
That was okay.
All right, Carly. Well, I've really enjoyed the conversation today, and I think you've probably opened the eyes to a lot of our listeners to a lot of cool things, and I really appreciate that. But if people want to find you and talk to you about how to get motivated to swim in a river or run a marathon, where can they find you?
Or how to win the Super Bowl. Um, they can find me at The Intelligent Miner, which is my online publication. So the address is www.theintelligentminer.com. And thank you for having me. It's been great.
Perfect. Absolutely. No, appreciate it. Really do. Been a real pleasure. So take care.
See you soon.